With the Nintendo Switch 2 having so much success this year, I've been thinking a lot about what this generation of Nintendo hardware has in store for us. The original Switch brought us one of the best, most all-time legendary JRPG libraries on any console, so I'm hoping we get the same treatment here this time around. So in this video, I wanted to put together a list of 10 games that I genuinely think need to find a home on Nintendo Switch 2. Games that missed the Switch 1 and could really benefit from a second wind on Nintendo's new console. These aren't ranked or anything, it's more of just a great list of games that I really enjoy and would love to have them on my favorite handheld system. But before I jump in, if you like JRPGs, if you like lists like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. And with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. Tales of Arise is one of those games that feels like it should have been on the Switch already. The game is beautiful, and it has a super distinct art style that is really hard to match, and honestly, that's exactly why the Switch 2 feels so perfect for it. This game deserves to be portable, not just because it's fun, but because it's such a journey-driven experience, for lack of a better way of explaining it. What makes Tales of Arise stand out, at least to me, is how it balances storytelling and gameplay. You've got these massive, wide-open areas that feel so different from those tighter, more linear environments in older Tales. And then you've got the skits, still probably my favorite part of the series. The way the characters bounce off each other feels natural and warm, and taking that with you on the go would feel so perfect. And the combat, man, Arise has some really satisfying rhythm to it. It's fast and flashy, but it still has this tactical underlayer that Tales games are known for. It's the kind of experience that's fun to dip into for 10 minutes on a bus ride or get completely absorbed into for several hours on the couch. I also just think Arise would do so well on a Nintendo platform. The game's art style leans more painterly than ultra realistic, which tends to scale very nicely. And with how many JRPG fans found their way to the Switch because of its portability, this would introduce a lot more people to the Tales series, I think. So yeah, Tales of Arise on Switch 2 feels like a no-brainer. A gorgeous game with emotional storytelling, great character writing, and combat that feels even better the more you play it. It's the kind of experience that deserves to be here. Now, before we dive deeper into this list, I want to highlight today's sponsor. And this one came at a perfect time this year because if you're like me, you're trying to find the best deals on games right now, and Instant Gaming definitely has you covered on that front. They have discounts on some of the biggest titles out there: Expedition 33, Resident Evil, Pokemon Legends ZA, and much, much more. Black Friday at Instant Gaming is a lot different this year. It's not just about discounts, it's your chance to win. Enjoy over 100 games at their lowest prices ever, and new deals unlocking every single day. And a completely free cart given away every hour. Check out the offers on instantgaming.com, and definitely use my links in the description below if you want to help support the channel. And with all that said, let's get back into it. Scarlet Nexus is one of those games that I think flew under a lot of people's radar, which is a shame because it's genuinely one of the more stylish and unique action JRPGs we've gotten recently. And maybe that's exactly why I'd love to see it on the Switch too, because I think being able to play it portably would give a lot more people a chance to appreciate what it does so well. What sticks out to me about Scarlet Nexus definitely has to be its combat. There's this mix of physical attacks and psychokinesis, and the way those two layers interact creates a rhythm that feels incredibly smooth once it clicks. You're dashing in, slicing at an enemy, and then whipping a nearby car across the screen without missing a beat. There's a sense of weight and flow that reminds me a little bit of those character action games on the PS2, and the world building is genuinely just cool. It's very anime sci-fi, but in the best way possible. Sleek character designs, weird psychic creatures, and this whole system of powers and brain links that actually feels very well thought through. It actually even had an anime that was released alongside the game, and I really enjoyed it. So if you get into the story here, there's even more for you to explore on that front. The story is told through 2 campaigns, and while it's not something you necessarily need to marathon, it's really well executed here and adds a lot to the overall experience. What I really appreciate though is how the game blends action with character moments. Those Bond episodes, basically these little skits where you deepen your relationship with your party, are surprisingly endearing. This at times felt very much like the Tales game, so if you're into that series, then Scarlet Nexus is one you definitely need to try. The skits do a lot to flesh out the group, And Scarlet Nexus didn't get this mainstream push it deserved, but a Switch 2 port could give it a second life. It's stylish and it's super different and unique. And that's exactly the kind of diversity the Switch library really thrives on. Metaphor ReFantazio has been out for a while now, and the more time I've spent with it, the more convinced I am that it deserves this second life on the Nintendo Switch 2. Even though it launched as this big flagship console JRPG, it's one of those games that feels like it was built for a handheld. Almost as if that Atlas DNA naturally pulls it towards portable hardware. Anyone who's taken a Persona game on the go knows how well their rhythm suits those short, tight play sessions, and Metaphor carries that same energy, just expressed through a much larger, more ambitious scope. Metaphor is huge, and now that we've all sat with it for a while now, the thing that still stands out the most is the scale of the game. Yes, the visual style and the confident presentation echo Persona, but the structure is more free, more open, and far more invested in building out a full-fledged fantasy setting. The kingdoms, the political tension, the cultural identities, all of it comes through more clearly when you're dipping into the game at your own pace. That calendar system and the moment-to-moment gameplay just naturally fits handheld play, in my opinion. The combat system remains one of Atlas's most interesting experiments. Being able to move between quick real-time action and more traditional turn-based encounters gives the game a flexibility that would shine on the Switch 2. Some nights you just want to clear out a route in a dungeon before bed. Other times you want to settle in and really think through your whole party setup, maybe go through and explore all of your archetypes and set up your crew for the next big boss fight. Metaphor definitely supports both moods, and a portable system makes that so much easier. And the archetype system, oh man, this game's spin on jobs is just so perfectly executed. It's familiar in all the ways you want, but it does enough unique things that make tinkering with the builds feel really rewarding. But more than anything, Metaphor thrives on atmosphere, those quiet character moments, the world building, the intimacy between the characters. On a handheld, those moments just make everything that much better because this is a 100-hour game. So being able to play this game in short bursts, or being able to grind a little bit or tinker with your party setup, all of these things are just a perfect fit for a handheld console. We saw Persona 3 Reload make its way to the Switch 2 recently, so let's hope Metaphor ReFantazio is next up. Visions of Mana is one of those games that seems tailor-made for a Nintendo system. It has that warm, colorful energy the Mana series is always carried, but with a modern presentation that feels like a genuine step forward. The moment I saw the environments, these grassy fields that look almost painted, the soft lighting, the way characters move, I immediately thought, yeah, this would feel great on the Nintendo Switch. The Mana series has always thrived on accessibility, not in the sense of being overly simple, but in the sense that it's inviting. The music, the party dynamics, those light action combat scenarios, it's all designed to create a nice, relaxing experience. Visions of Mana pushes things forward with more modern movement and exploration. The combat direction especially has aged really well. Visions of Mana landed in that sweet middle ground the series has always chased. Responsive, quick movement without losing the readable rhythmic feel of, the classic Mana games. When it comes to combat, you're still kind of watching for openings, timing your skills up, and keeping an eye on your team, but it never slips into being frantic or overly convoluted. It's a loop that naturally feels suited for portability, if I'm being honest. Something you can jump into for a little while, but also sink tons of hours into whenever you feel like it. The world itself is one of the biggest reasons it would shine, I think, on the Switch 2. It's a little bit more open. It's not fully open world per se, but there's tons of areas to explore, and it's just so inviting. I think that this game in general is just the perfect fit for the Nintendo Switch 2 console. I really hope that Visions of Mana kind of gets that second win, because I do think it was a little underrated and a little overlooked by a lot of JRPG fans out there. I think a new life on the Switch 2 would definitely help it out. Okay, so I know this one might take a lot of work. We all know that. Rebirth is a massive game, and it's probably the kind of port that would take serious effort. But if we're talking about dream scenarios, yeah, Rebirth absolutely deserves to be on the Switch 2. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Switch 2 at PAX West, and I can see that Square really has a knack for getting things to run smoothly on this hardware, so it's not crazy to imagine it happening more sooner than later. What makes Rebirth special, at least for me, isn't just the visuals or the scale, which are great, but it's the freedom of exploration. It's the kind of game where you don't always need to be mainlining the story. You can just wander around, do side quests, experiment with skills, and enjoy all the great hidden stuff scattered all over the world. The combat system is another highlight. Rebirth continues the remake trilogy's approach of blending action and traditional ATB, but this time with even more layers. The synergy abilities are awesome and they look spectacular. They add a rhythm to the battles where you're constantly looking for the perfect combination of skills. And the idea of taking this game with you, being able to dive in and wander around, fight enemies whenever you have a minute, it's really appealing. Obviously, compromises would have to be made on a Switch 2 port, but the thing is, Final Fantasy VII has always been tied to portable play, I think. Crisis Core Remake is coming to Switch 2. The original Final Fantasy VII is on just about everything. There's definitely a reason to believe this will be a fun handheld experience. I would love to get a bunch of Final Fantasy games on the Switch 2. As a matter of fact, you might see another one on this list later on. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is one of those games that feels enormous and way bigger than you would expect going in. Not just in size, but in the amount of stuff there is to do. It's a massive game with an incredibly warm, uplifting tone, and I think that combination makes it a fantastic candidate for the Switch 2 console. Because behind all the absurdity and humor, and believe me, this game can be hilarious at times, there's a surprisingly grounded story here. Ichiban as a protagonist is just one of the best characters in a game ever. He has this big-hearted optimism that's easy to settle into, and his perspective gives every side quest and character moment this emotional through line. Even when the game gets really silly, which, believe me, it absolutely does, the sincerity is always there. And that sincerity is one of those things that makes the Like a Dragon series feel so welcoming. The turn-based combat continues the formula introduced in the original Yakuza Like a Dragon, but Infinite Wealth feels smoother and more refined with a couple of bonuses that make the game feel a little bit more actiony than traditional turn-based. The job system is more fleshed out, the battle flow is faster, and enemy designs keep things super interesting. The loop of fight, explore, do a side story, upgrade your job, and kind of repeat, it just feels so good. Hawaii is also just a fun setting. It's colorful, it's vibrant, and full of personality. The density of things to do makes it perfect for dipping in and out, whether you're knocking out a few mini games or chasing down side quests, and the Switch 2's hardware would hopefully allow the game to run without sacrificing too much. Okay, yeah, this one is a little bit of cheating because it's a whole entire series, but honestly, Kingdom Hearts needs to be on the Switch 2 in a real native way. No cloud versions, no streaming, just honest to goodness ports that people can actually play offline. Because Kingdom Hearts isn't just a series, it's a comfort space for so many fans, and that's what handheld systems are for. Kingdom Hearts games. Come on, get Kingdom Hearts on the Switch 2. The thing I've always loved about Kingdom Hearts is how it balances this big, sprawling narrative with these very personal, emotional moments. You've got all these twists and mysteries and timeline layers, but then you'll stumble into a quiet scene between Sora, Donald, and Goofy that reminds you why this whole series works. You kind of just have to be there, I guess, is the only way I can explain it. Gameplay-wise, Kingdom Hearts has always had this incredible tactile feel, whether it's the snappiness of Kingdom Hearts 2 combat, the floaty but charming movement of Kingdom Hearts 1, or the more action-heavy feel of Kingdom Hearts 3. There's a rhythm to these games that's easy to fall into. That's the kind of rhythm that makes picking up and playing for 20 minutes feel just as good as playing for several hours. And let's be honest, having the entire series playable in one place is always a win. Xbox has it, PlayStation has it, PC has it. The Switch is the one platform where the audience overlap is huge, but the access is, well, just non-existent. The Switch 2 can hopefully really fix that. There's also just something right about Kingdom Hearts on the go. So many entries were handheld to begin with. Chain of Memories, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance. It feels baked into the DNA of the series at this point. So yeah, give us a full native collection on the Switch 2. Also, maybe name it something coherent like Kingdom Hearts All the Games or something, and don't assign it some weird number that will confuse everyone. Thanks. Final Fantasy XVI is probably the most technically demanding game on this list, and I fully acknowledge that. But 16 is a game that deserves to reach as many players as possible, and this would be a big one for the Switch 2 to really show off what the hardware can do. What stands out about Final Fantasy 16 isn't just the visuals or the cinematic flair, but how confidently it commits to being an action JRPG. The combat has this weight and speed that feels incredibly satisfying once you understand the flow. Dodging with precision, weaving abilities together, swapping icon powers mid-combo. It has this almost character action feel to it, but with texture and pacing of a JRPG. That blend makes the game feel unique within the series for sure, and while it took me a while to gel with it, I ultimately really enjoy it. And the icon fights, these boss fights, those would be incredible to play on a portable device. They're huge, they're dramatic, and they have this cinematic flair that would just give you this unbelievable feeling seeing it on a handheld. But the thing I appreciate most about 16 is its storytelling. The tone is darker, more grounded, and more political than some recent entries, but it balances that with genuinely human character moments. His relationships feel lived in, and that gives the big dramatic beats all that more weight. The Switch audience has always embraced Final Fantasy as a series when given the chance, and 16 is the kind of bold, confident entry that would really show off what the Switch 2 can do, and that it's a big, huge upgrade over the Switch 1. Dragon Quest VIII is a special kind of JRPG. The kind that feels timeless, not because of nostalgia, but because of how clean and confident its design is. And honestly, I think the Switch 2 is the perfect place to give it a modern re-release. Not the 3DS version with its concessions, but a proper high-quality port of the original PS2 game, touched up where it's needed. Dragon Quest VIII is all about atmosphere. The cel-shaded art style still looks fantastic today. It has this painterly warmth that doesn't age the way realistic graphics do. The environments feel expansive but really inviting, and the world has this breezy sense of adventure that fits portable systems so perfectly. I recently played Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, and I love the new art style there. And although I would prefer to keep the cel-shaded, colorful art style of 8, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this one redone in that new kind of art style either. What I love most about Dragon Quest VIII, though, is its pacing. It's not too slow, it's structured, and feels well thought out. Every town has its own problems to solve, characters to meet, and history to uncover. The game trusts you to take your time, it doesn't rush you, and it doesn't overwhelm you with complex, convoluted mechanics. That relaxed rhythm is just incredibly comforting. The combat is classic Dragon Quest, turn-based, clean, and based on understanding your tools. The tension mechanic adds a nice layer of strategy, but it never gets in the way of the simplicity that makes the Dragon Quest game so charming. And let's be honest, the game being portable again just feels right. The 3DS version was great for what it was, but the visual downgrade was noticeable and the hardware couldn't quite capture the full scale that maybe the Switch 2 would be capable of. Even now, when people talk about their favorite Dragon Quest games, 8 comes up constantly. It's one of those entries that transcends the franchise, and giving it a new home on modern hardware would let a whole new generation discover why it's so beloved. Lost Odyssey is one of those games that feels like a time capsule, a very specific moment in JRPG history when traditional turn-based design was colliding with big-budget cinematic ambition. And because it was stuck on the Xbox 360, a lot of players never got the chance to experience it. The Switch 2 could hopefully change that. What I love most about Lost Odyssey is how deeply emotional this game is. It follows an immortal man who's lived for 1,000 years, and the story leans heavily into the weight of those memories. The 1,000 Years of Dream segments, those short, written vignettes, are some of the best pieces of storytelling in any game. They're quiet and reflective, and just so perfectly written. The combat is traditional, but well-tuned. There's a ring system that rewards timing, adding a tactile feel to the turn-based structure, and the way you build your immortals by having them learn skills from mortal characters is a clever progression mechanic. It encourages experimentation, but never completely overloads you with complex systems. Visually, Lost Odyssey still holds up surprisingly well. The character models are expressive, and the environments have this nice mid-2000s JRPG charm to it, detailed enough to feel lived in, stylized enough to not really age super poorly. A Switch 2 version wouldn't need this huge overhaul, just smoothing performance and resolution would go a long way. But more than anything, Lost Odyssey deserves a second life because it's just one of those games that so many fans of the genre have not had a chance to experience yet. Anyway, those are my top 10 JRPGs that I'd love to see make their way to the Nintendo Switch 2. Some of these feel like ultra realistic, and some of them are real long shots, and some just personal wishes of mine that I'd love to see there. But that's part of the fun here. If there's a game you think deserves a spot on the Switch 2, or if there's something on this list you especially agree or even disagree with, let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading all your thoughts, and until next time, I'm out.
They say she's a monster.